guys, welcome back to my channel. I apologise for what feels like the millionth time for there being a gap in my uploading schedule. Last week was a bit rough. My mum was in hospital to get kidney stones out and there was actually a death in my local community and I just didn't feel like I was in the right headspace to record a video. But we're back now. I'm back in action with the topic that I was actually going to talk about last week, but didn't get a chance to because of all the stuff that was going on in my personal life. The thing that sparked my desire to talk about this particular topic was the release of The Last of Us 2. Now, I don't have a copy of The Last of Us 2. I haven't played The Last of Us 1, but I have watched quite a few walkthroughs and playthroughs of the first game and a couple now of the second game. And where I know a lot of people hold the opinion that you need to be able to play the game to experience it properly, I just don't have the time or the money to spend on a shitload of PS4 games, so I try to experience it in other ways, in whatever way that I can, because I do enjoy games and I enjoy the stories that games tell, so watching different walkthroughs helps me be able to experience that with the money and the time that I have. I don't know if everyone will know this, because I was just about to say, as you all probably know, but you mightn't know. Back in May time there was a leak of the plot of The Last of Us 2 and a lot of fans got very, very angry. I read the leak because I'm not hugely attached to the franchise and I wanted to see what everyone was angry about. I personally found the spoilers quite damning. I was like, oh my god, are they really doing that? But as I hadn't played the game, hadn't watched anyone play the game, I didn't want to make a comment. When the critics got a hold of the game, despite the leaks, they loved it. It was getting 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, you know, basically full marks, perfect game all around. But when fans got a hold of the game, there was a large disconnect between what the critics thought and what a large majority of fans thought in the beginning. And I think that's very evident in quite a lot of media, TV shows, games, whatever you want to sort of relate this to. Another example I can think of is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. On Goodreads, it had 5 out of 5 ratings way before the book was even released. When I finally heard about what the plot of A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was, I decided that I would go onto Goodreads to see what people thought. And there was loads of 5 out of 5 ratings without any written reviews yet, which I can only assume must have been from critical analysis, I don't know. But it seemed that it was all hyped up before anyone had actually read it. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist because I know how insane it sounds to be like, the critics are paid. They're paid to praise the game and we should have fans reviewing it and telling us what they think from the start. Because on some level, I do agree that there has to be some form of payment there. I don't think that all of them, everyone, like every critic in the world is being paid to hype up a game. Some probably are. A large majority of them are. Well, I say a large majority, who knows? A good portion of them probably are, as well as a good portion probably aren't. But it just makes the disconnect between the fans and the critics quite evident. And where the game, in the example of The Last of Us 2, the game has had time to sort of sit and kind of, I say, simmer. People have had time to play it and people have had time to experience it. The general consensus is still very divided, but it's not necessarily divided between critics loving and fans hating. There are fans who love it, fans who hate it, and there are mainly critics who love it. I've never seen like an official critic kind of criticize it in any way, but I haven't really looked into finding official critics who have had a negative opinion of the game. All I know is that all the critics that I've seen have been given a 5 out of 5, whereas the fans have a more kind of divided opinion. Some like it, some hate it, some saw something in it that others didn't, some saw things in it that they didn't like that others didn't see. And I find that more realistic than the hyperbole of critics going 5 out of 5, perfect, brilliant, nothing to criticize. Someone called it the game of the decade or the best game of all time, And that would have to mean that the game is flawless, and I don't believe anything is flawless. But as we always say, as I always say on this channel, it's a matter of opinion. It just strikes me how large of a distance there is between the critics giving it 5 out of 5 all the time, and fans actually seem to have a more realistic critical eye point that the critics should have. Like, as a critic, you should be able to analyse things from a critical standpoint. You have to analyse things objectively, some things subjectively. It's a very interesting job, I think, being a critic, because you have to insert your own opinion, but also kind of consider things that might not also relate to you. Like, you have to consider how other people might experience it, or how other people will consume the game in a difference to how you did. I think it's a very complicated job, probably. Like me spouting off about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes all the time on my channel, that is me talking from my perspective. But if I was a professional critic, if I was being paid to be a critic, I would try to be more objective and more fair. But I'm not being paid to do these videos, so I get to sort of talk about my own opinion, much to a lot of people's dismay. The best place to see this in action, I think, is Rotten Tomatoes, because Rotten Tomatoes has a critics rating and an audience reception. They have a rating that the critics have given something, and they have a rating that the audience has given something. And I think that is most evident, as you probably know, because I've talked about this before, is from the audience reception of the most recent series I of Doctor Who, because the ratings are always very, very high, but the audience reception is so low. It is almost hilarious how different the audience seems to be viewing this in comparison to critics who very likely are trying to appease the BBC and trying to appease the PC culture that Doctor Who has adopted in these final few years that it's been on. And I only say this because it's very little that the critics actually go into the comment section of Rotten Tomatoes and praise Doctor Who. It is the audience who go there and say how they're feeling. And it is very, very different to the rating that the critics have given it. And I just find that really interesting. Again, I don't want to go into a whole conspiracy, oh, they're being paid by the BBC to praise the show because it's failing. I'm not getting into that. You guys know how I feel about new Doctor Who, and you know how I feel about Jodie Whittaker and a female doctor, etc, etc. I don't need to go into that in this video. I have a whole playlist of Doctor Who videos that you can see that in. But what I'm trying to say is that as of recent, I'm beginning to notice that there's a large disconnect. I say disconnect a lot because I really like that word for describing this. There's a large disconnect between what fans think and what the critics say. And one is fueled by passion and your own enjoyment of whatever the media is that you're consuming, because you get nothing out of it but your enjoyment. And the other, whether we like it or not, is a paid job. These people are being paid to review these products, whether what they say is positive or whether what they say is negative. It is a paid job. There's not necessarily a backstory there. A critic who reviews Doctor Who might not have the same history with the show that I have, for example. They might have started watching it when they got the job, and that's what they had to do. I, for example, have been watching since I was 4 years old. I don't get paid. As much as I would love to get paid to watch Doctor Who, I don't get paid. As much as I would love to get paid to review things on my channel, I don't get paid. I do all of this out of my own opinion and my own reckless thoughts that I jabber on about on my channel that a lot of people seem to dislike, but the people that do enjoy it, I am here for. That is why I'm still making these videos, because they're for myself and they're for you guys who actually debate with me properly and actually enjoy my videos. You guys are the best. Whereas the people who are critics, they got the job to do this, and they might not have that history that I have. And I think that should be considered when reading reviews. I'm not saying that that all critics don't have a history. I'm sure there's loads of critics who were so excited for The Last of Us Part 2, but I don't know if you remember the Cuphead game reviewer guy who couldn't even get past the tutorial and he blasted the game for it, and you're like, dude, you couldn't even get past the tutorial and you're a game reviewer? It's just interesting. Again, no conspiracies here. I'm not going to start declaring that everyone's been paid off and no, don't trust any critic. It's more just kind of taking in what you want to trust and what you want to believe, and then forming your own opinion once you consume it yourself. I don't think it's right to say I don't think it's right, but I don't think it's wise to just fully trust the critics. I think you need to be able to consume it and form an opinion of your own and kind of figure out what you think about it without being influenced by, like, outside opinions. It's all about what you think. It's all about what I think, what you think, and even what the critic thinks if you think that that's what you want to believe. But all three of us, me, you, that critic, we could be thinking differently, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way life is. We're all different. We all think different. We all have different brains. If not, we would all be like uniform sheep, and it would be a very, very boring universe, don't you think? So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to make a video on this last week when The Last of Us 2 gameplay started coming out, but I couldn't do it because I wasn't in the right mindset because of all the stuff that was going on in my personal life. But everything is sort of back to normal now. My mum is out of surgery, she's home, and she's not well, but she's better than she was, so that's good. Love you, Mum. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back on track now. Hopefully there'll be videos every week, but if there's not, I'll leave an update on Twitter. I don't really write that much on Twitter anymore unless I feel I have to, and I'll be advertising my videos and posting updates and anything else important that happens. That's the only time I'll be posting to Twitter now, but you can follow my socials anyway if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. I don't want you there if you don't want to be there, and I'll see you next time. And remember, form your own opinion. Your own opinion is beautiful and it is yours. Enjoy it.